And joining us online now is FCPA Hesbon Omolo, is an economist. He's joining us live from Dubai. Thanks for making time, Omolo. And are we doing better off now or worse off as a country, since compared to 2022 when President Ruto took office?
Thank you, Trevor, and good evening, viewers. I think as a country, there is quite some progress we can mention, and I think your clip there has shown the kind of drop in terms of price of the staple food of maize. However, there are certain commodities that still remains a challenge. We've also heard from my colleagues who spoke earlier that generally, when an economy stagnates, you are likely to have a situation where even some drop in terms of prices of commodities will not be felt by the common mwananchi. But I think the biggest challenge that comes across is that over the last 3 years, there have been 3 transformative programs that the government has introduced that has directly raided the payslip of the employee, and that has reduced the disposable income. First is the issue of SHA. Secondly is the issue of affordable housing deductions. And thirdly is the issue of enhanced NSSF savings that ensures that our people can be able to retire in dignity and with disposable income to avoid life challenges when they age. So I think that for the employed has reduced what they're able to access in terms of money to spend. But again, for the majority who are in the informal sector, that sector grows when the private sector is able to borrow or lend to borrow from banks. Yeah. Unfortunately, we have had a fiscal space where non-performing loans have been on the rise, and consequently banks have shied away from lending to the common man and focus on lending to government, which is offering higher interest and is considered more risk-free. The sum total of that is that our public debt has ballooned, but we've squeezed out the private sector from borrowing, and that would have been the area that would have spurred growth, especially in the MSME sector. So I think these are the challenges we're dealing with, but generally there are so many other positive things that we can take home. And of course, there are other challenges we could speak to.
Yeah, Hesbon, you mentioned the raiding of pay slips, but we've seen a consistent decrease in inflation. For example, in June 2024, it was at 4.6. In June 2025, that was a few months ago, it was at 3.8. But how come the people are not feeling this effect? Are we basing our numbers on an already increased baseline? What is the problem here? Where's the disconnect?
I think the disconnect is this. When you talk about the raiding of the pay slip, look at it in 2 fronts. In 3 years since this government came into being, our NSS savings has moved almost to 640 billion from 280 B. That means when people who are in employment now will retire in 10 years' time to come, they will have probably enough money to take home and then challenge probably the misnomer that people who retire have to die within 2 years. And 39% is such a high number, dying in 2 years. So at least that cushions the future, but it denies you what you can spend now. On Social Health Authority, trying to have an insurance scheme that covers everyone is expensive, especially if it is largely supported by the few working class that are less than 4 million. Again, that reduces the disposable income. But the flip side of it is that it's a long journey, and we have to tighten our belts across the various challenges we're having. We may not feel it in the pocket, and largely because if my disposable income is reduced, even if other parameters are looking good, I may not have the money to spend, or I will have to decide, do I spend it on this and ignore this? Secondly, if I'm not able to grow my business, I cannot employ more people. And we know so many people are graduating from our schools every year. So we have a rising number of unemployment or people joining the job market, but there are no jobs for them to take up. So I think that, in a way, has condensed the space. The flip side of it is this. Almost every sector of agriculture has recorded tremendous growth in terms of output and also in terms of prices for the farmers. But now the flip side of it is this. A farmer who has harvested maize would want better prices, notwithstanding the subsidy. That may not be attainable if the consumer also wants lower prices of unga at the shop. So there must be a trading in between, and that's why the various subsidies that the government comes in with is able to help. And we can go beyond the fertilizer. Look at our energy prices, for example. Why is it that the average cost of energy is 27 shillings per kilowatt, when the production cost of energy is about 8 to 10 shillings a kilowatt? Can we, for example, have more reforms in the energy sector so that we reduce how much then people pay, even for electricity, that goes away in affecting all the other prices? Can we relook at our fuel prices again? We had very ambitious projects around Lake Turkana oil. Where did it go? It could have really helped us to augment the strategy around oil importation using direct importation by government, which in a way has helped us cushion the common mwananchi without necessarily going through what was previously a subsidy that was very heavy to the oil marketers. So I think there are certain good things, but the feeling for the mwananchi is that these benefits are not trickling down, and largely because we are paying very huge cost of public debt, which is exceeding $1 trillion, and this payment is coming from taxes, which is largely collected from either the few who are employed and the majority through consumption taxes, and that drains the money from the public as it goes towards debt service. So it is a very difficult and delicate balance to ensure that we manage our fiscal space so that we do not overborrow expensively, but also ensure that we also tighten aside and wastage in government that is draining resources. And that's why I feel the government needs to look at both sides of the coin. Yes, the taxes, we've hit a ceiling where the people are rebelling. We don't need to add more taxes.
Okay.
But what are we doing with the taxes we are collecting? I think that is where we can free resources and even give more incentives to the common man so that the pain on the shelves or in the supermarket stores can be reduced.
All right. Thanks, Esbon. FCPA Esbon Omolo there speaking to us live from Dubai. We'll stay with us because we'll still have a substantive conversation later on in this broadcast. Joining you will be Professor Maina Mushara, the council member, the Consumers Federation of Kenya, that's COFEC, and also CPA Rispa Olik, Director, Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. That's at the tail end of this conversation. But for now, let's take a quick break here on Monday Report. When we come back, we try to answer that question that Esbon has just posed. What are we doing with the taxes, and how can we ensure that the cost of living eases out for the people as well? And is the government getting the numbers wrong? Are they suffering from what economists call the base effect? We'll talk about that in just a bit, but keep your views coming in, your questions as well at Trevor Mbidi at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Monday Report. See you in just a short while.